Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I'm going to teach you how to lose your friends for just about $10. Now, why exactly would you want to do that? I don't know. And it does not really matter because you know what? You chose to do it. And you know, that's your decision. It's none of my business. That's none of my business how you came to that decision. That is not my business on why you decide to make that decision. I'm just here to help in any way I can, all right? By helping you lose your friends for just about $10. So with all that said, let's jump into the commander of this commander deck that can help you lose your friends for just $10, and that is Will Scion of Peace, which is a very ironic name, I guess I would say, right, for a commander that is going to help you lose your friends for just about $10. Will is a 2/4 human wizard for 1 white and a blue. Vigilance. Tap spells you cast this turn that are white and or blue, cost X less to cast for X the amount of life you gain this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Now, this is a powerhouse commander and one that is very budget-friendly itself. It's around $1 right now for this version of it. And, yeah, that's about 1/10 of the budget of this deck because, again, this deck is just around $10 at, well, to be more precise, according to Moxfield, $10.34. Now, that's not including the price of shipping or the price of basic lands, but if you already have those, great, there you go. Or if you can borrow some from your friend and then beat them with the deck that makes you lose them, that could even be better, you know, to actually make you lose that friend. So there you go. Regardless, on this episode, I'm going to talk about how crazy we can get this commander and how annoying of a commander this can be for your friend that you're about to lose or friends that you're about to lose. So yeah, let's jump into it with the tactics. Let's jump into it by also saying that if you are interested, again, in losing your friends, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. And of course, with all that said, here we go. So let's first up start off with tactic number 1, what a dork. And yeah, if you call your friend a dork, that might help too, but that's not very nice, and don't do that. Name calling is not nice. Just beating your friends with this deck is very, well, also not nice as well. Regardless, Gold Mirror is a great mana dork for this deck. A simple 1/1 for 2 mana, can tap for a white mana. Now, when it comes to the mana dorks that we're using on this deck, we're going to be using mana dorks that actually, well, can tap for one of our 2 colors or both of our colors because you'll see here in a bit, but we've got the generic mana handled thanks to our commander, so we need some creatures out there that can help the non-generic part of our cards. Next up, Karfell Harbinger, a 1/3 zombie wizard, tap for a blue, so spell to cast a foretold card from your hand, or cast an instant or sorcery spell. Most likely we're caring about the instant sorcery right there. Next up, got Mirror Convert, 2/1 with Toxic 1, which, sure, if you infect your opponents out, that could also be a way to lose your friends. More importantly, though, tap, pay 2 life, add 1 mana of any color. Paying 2 life is absolutely no big deal at all because, hey, we're going to be gaining an absurd amount of life, and yeah, getting 1 mana of any color is huge. Speaking of which, Ornithopter of Paradise, this one, no downside, just tap for 1 mana of any color. Then there's Pelarger Survivor, I think I got it right, I don't know. A 1/3 human peasant that can tap for 1 of any color. Space mana only casts an instant sorcery spell. Again, instant sorcery is what we care about. Also, you could mill someone out potentially with this as well. You're probably not going to do that. You're going to win in other ways. Regardless, let's move on. Silver Mirror, kind of like Gold Mirror, but this one taps for a blue. Unblinking Observer, tap for a blue, only to cast instant sorcery, again, which is what we care about, or disturb, I guess, but yeah, instant sorcery, what we care about. Then we've got Volchi Tide Turner, tap for a blue, again, only instant or sorcery or kick spell. Alloy Mirror, tap for either of our colors. Bronze Walrus also taps for either of our colors after it enters the battlefield and scries to. What a good walrus helping us out there. For voting stats, you got to be careful with this one, actually, and probably only really utilizing it on the turn that you're about to go off. Tap for 1 of any color. Put an Omen counter on it. Your end step, if there are 3 or more Omen counters on it, you untap it, transform it. You don't really want it transformed. Be it a pre-comp phase, you get 1 mana. You'd rather have a mana dork that can actually tap for mana. So again, be careful with when you utilize this one. Next up, Opaline Unicorn. Don't be careful with it. Just taps for 1 mana of any color. And finally, Scuttlebutt can tap for 1 mana of any color or making target creature the color of our choice until end of turn. That doesn't really matter. What we care about is getting these mana dorks, being able to tap for one of our colors or both of our colors. And maybe we've got ways to utilize them more than once. But before we talk about that, let's jump into tactic number 2, Rock on Dork. And we've got some mana rocks that also kind of want to be dorks as well, in a way. We've got Flywheel Racer, a 3/2 vehicle of Vigilance that costs 2, and it can tap down 1 mana of any color, but only if it's a creature. It's got a crew cost of 1. Very, very cheap crew cost for us. Get it crewed up, utilize it as a creature, and have it tap for mana. Then there's Azorius Key Rune. It can tap for either of our colors, or we can pay white, blue, and then becomes a 2/2. And again, this becoming a creature can be huge because, again, we can take advantage of it being a creature and being able to tap for mana, and yeah, tap for either of our colors. Chronotog Totem. This card literally is terrible in many ways, but great in this deck. Tap for a blue or pay 1 in a blue, comes a 1/2 a Tog until end of turn. You can pay 0 if you want to get +3/+3 until end of turn and skip our next turn. Yeah, let's not do that. But what we do care about, again, is being able to turn it into a creature. And then finally, Cultivator's Caravan, yet another vehicle that can become a creature. Obviously, a 5/5, tap for 1 of any color, crew 3. So again, once you crew it up, it is a creature, and it can benefit from, well, many of our amazing spells. Because now it's time to move on to tactic number 3 on repeat, where we talk about Samurai tribal cards. Just kidding, but this one does help Samurai, but it also helps all of our creatures. Call to Glory, instant for 1 in a white, untap all creatures you control. Samurai control get +1. We don't care about that second part. What we care about is a 2-mana way to untap all of our creatures, which of course includes all the mana dorks that we just talked about, those rocks that can become mana dorks essentially, and also of course our spicy commanders. So again, yeah, we can have some pretty crazy turns, because what's going to happen is we've got our mana dorks in play. Cool, we've got some mana there. Great, cool. Tap them for mana, utilize our commander's ability after we gain some life, and then reduce the cost of our blue and white spells. Then we cast a spell like this, untap them all. Do it again and again, because we've got more spells like this and more ways to get this back and more ways to cast big spells and draw into spells. You see where this is going. Next up, Dramatic Reversal, a crazy good card. Instant for 1 in a blue, untap all non-land permanents you control. So this counts everything we have that is not a land to untap. Regardless, most of the time we care about creatures, but still be able to count for everything. That's nice. Next up, Energy Arc, a flexible untap effect. Untap any number of target creatures. Those creatures neither deal nor receive damage in combat this turn. Basically, yeah, we can utilize this as a fog effect if we really want to, or just, yeah, a 2-mana way to untap our entire team. Then we've got Rally of Wings. Instant for 1 in a white, untap all creature control. Our flyers get +2/+2. That doesn't really matter. Again, what we care about is 2 mana untap. And again, when I'm saying 2 mana, actually what I really mean is 2 mana maybe, but probably just 1 with this one. Because again, that generic mana is going to be dealt with thanks to our commander. Speaking of generic mana being dealt with, Reality Spasm. This is a crazy good card. Choose 1. Tap X target permanents, untap X target permanents, and instant for X blue blue. Yeah, this is basically just untap everything, including your lands. So basically, just cast this again, because at a certain point, you're going to be gaining, 10, 20, 30 life, essentially, or at least be able to untap your commander, tap it again to add to that amount. And then, yeah, you can put whatever you want into that X, essentially, whatever up to that. And you're going to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to untap all my creatures, all my mana dorks, my commander, as well as all my lands. So being able to just utilize a ton of mana again is absolutely massive. Next up, Roar the Ka. Very simple, very effective. Choose 1. Creature control +1. Probably not choosing that one. Untap all creatures. If you really want to entwine it, you can get both, but more likely you're just going to choose the better mode. Then there's Rallying Roar. Instant for 3 mana, but again, basically going to be 1 because that generic's going to be dealt with. Creature control get +1/+1 till on turn. Untap them. Rally to Battle. Again, basically exact same thing. Creature control get +1/+3. Cool, they can block slightly better. What we care about, though, again, is untapping. Essentially, when we're going off on this turn and casting all these spells, we probably don't really care too much about our creature's power and toughness. So yeah, being able to untap them again for a single white mana with that mana reduction is huge. Speaking of which, Tenacity, same thing, +1/+1, lifelink until turn to our creatures. Also, more importantly, though, untap, yeah, for 4 mana. Gleam Resistance, basic land cycling if we need it early on in the game. Creature control +1/+2 until on turn and tap those creatures again. Would be 5 mana. Again, with this commander, it's going to be basically a single white mana. 2 mana, though, we've got Thought Weft Gambit. Azorius, essentially. 4 Azorius, but that's going to be dealt with at 4. Tap all creatures opponents control, untap all creatures you control. So tap everything your opponents control down, untap all your own. A massive play. And yeah, we've got a ton of these effects, and being able to chain them again and again and again is absolutely huge. Let's move on to tactic number 4, though, and talk about how we set ourselves up for these amazing, massive plays with our mana dorks. Well, we've got a card like Alabaster Potion. Yeah, I never heard of it. Yeah, I didn't either before this, because it's a pretty terrible card, yeah, for many circumstances. But with this commander, it's absolutely amazing. Instant for X white white. Basically, target player gets X life. Or you can prevent damage. But more importantly, target player gains X life. So basically, hey, you know how this commander cares about you gaining life? Well, all of a sudden, you just put whatever mana amount you want into that. And of course, your commander can reduce that. So yeah, basically, this can be a life doubling effect in a way, and just making that into a massive amount. Being able to say, like, yeah, I'll put 20 in that. Cool. All right, I'll just gain 20 life. All of a sudden now, untap my commander, do it again. Just add to that amount that you've already gained in the turn. It's absolutely insane. Next up, Sanguine Sacrament. Speaking of which, instant for X white white. You gain twice X life, 2 times X. So Again, earlier on in the game, this can be a great way to say, let's just get things started off at a nice level, okay? Maybe put 3 into that X. Cool, okay, gain 6 life. Awesome. Good for me. And then all of a sudden, being able to say, okay, I've got my 6 life, and now, yeah, let's untap, do it again and again and again. Absolutely crazy. And yeah, when you do have, your commander tapping for a good amount, reducing that cost, let's say, up to 10, all of a sudden you just gain 20 life from this, and you're ready to go. You're ready to go. Moving on. Search Warrant. A lot less cost. And this only costs 2 mana. Again, doesn't need your commander's cost reduction. White and a blue source. Your target player reveals their hand. You gain life equal to the number of cards in the player's hand. So your opponent's hands can actually work against them with this earlier on in the game. Gain like 7 life pretty easy with this, like 6-7 life just for 2 mana. And you also get to see your opponent's hand, which is nice. More importantly, though, later in the game, this can be 2 mana, gain like 40 plus life, because you've got ways to draw an absurd amount of cards. And when you do that, all of a sudden your hand size is going to be massive. Yeah, you got to reveal your hand to your opponents, but they're going to lose anyway, so it doesn't matter. And what you do essentially is say, okay, I gained 40 life for this too. Oh, cool. Untap my commander, do it again. Oh my goodness, reduction is even further. Next up, one of my favorite cards when I was younger, Riot Control. Love this card. Instant for 2 in a white. Gain 1 life for each creature opponents control. Prevent all damage result this turn. It's a great fog effect that essentially says, you know what? Also, hey, turning your creatures against you. I'm not going to lose life. I'm going to gain life for each creature you control. I'm just paying, again, usually it's going to be a single white mana for this. Gain an absurd amount of life depending on your opponent's creatures. Next up, the third path. Instant for 2 in a white. Draw a card, then you gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand. Again, be able to say, okay, cool, I got 7 cards in my hand. Great, I drew a card, replace this, and also just gained a ton of life as well. And later in the game, it's going to be again like, oh yeah, cool, I just gained 40 life for a single mana and drew a card. Good for me. Moving on, Congregate. Target player gains life for each creature on the battlefield. Yup, this is a crazy way at instant speed to just gain, again, for just probably a single mana, hey, upwards of 20, 40 life, whatever it is. Again, the number of creatures in play, not just your own, not just your opponents, but all the creatures on the battlefield add and help you up and say, hey, you know what? Did you want to gain an absurd amount? Cool. Make sure your commander has a good tap effect. Next up, Jard's Wisdom. Sorcery for 2, white. Again, probably it's going to be 2 mana for you. Gain 2 life for each card in your hand. That is absolutely huge. So we also are running another one, Presence of the Wise. Gain 2 life for each card in your hand. Again, the further the game goes along, the better this gets. I mean, early on, it can still be like, hey, gain 14 life, essentially. But later on, once you have that big explosive turn, this can be gained like 80 life pretty easily. And all of a sudden, yeah, will untapping and then tapping one more time just means game over for your opponents. Then finally got War Report. Instant for 3 in a white. Gain life equal to the number of creatures on the battlefield plus the number of artifacts in the battlefield. This can be a good amount, again, earlier on in the game and later in the game especially. Yeah, just be able to take advantage of not only your creatures and artifacts, but your opponents as well. And just having a massive life gain effect, again, for most likely just 1 mana. But now let's move on to tactic number 5, Gains and Brains, because with life gain, we also have ways to, well, use our brain too. Revitalize, instant for 1 in a white, gain 3 life, draw a card. Now, this is not a massive gain effect, but 3 can still make a massive difference. Just early on in the game, just being able to say, yeah, you know what, let's just get things started. Early on that turn, getting things started and saying, okay, I gain 3 life. My commander can tap, and then all of a sudden, my next spells are going to cost 3 less to cast, essentially, and that can really get things going, especially with X spells as well. Being able to draw a card to replace this, that is absolutely huge. So we're also going to be running Healing Hands. This one does cost 1 more, but again, with our commander, probably just costing just a single mana in total. Target player gains 4 life, draw a card. That's going to be us. We're going to be the target player. Next up, Revitalizing Dose. We've got instant speed, so it does reduce that life that we're gaining. Just 3 life. That's okay then. But again, still, hey, drawing a card, replacing it in our hand. On Ritual of Rejuvenation, instant speed. Didn't take in mind that cost reduction, apparently. You gain 4 life, draw a card. So again, be able to gain a good amount of life for a good rate. Again, most likely just a single mana. Or again, 3 is not that bad to get things started off with. The gain 4 life to help that reduction for your commander. That can be huge, again, replacing itself. Next up, Survival Cache. One that can help us out twice, and once for free. Sorcerer for 2 and a white. You gain 2 life, then if you have more life than opponent, draw a card. We're going to have more life than many of our opponents, perhaps all of our opponents. So draw a card. Also rebound. So essentially, we're going to cast it for free at the beginning of our next upkeep as well. Starting off our next turn without actually having to invest mana into a, gain life spell, essentially, so we can start things off on the right foot. Next up, Sphinx's Insight, a great one as well. Instant speed for 2, white and a blue. Draw 2. If you cast your main phase, you gain 2 life as well. So yeah, casting your main phase, gain some life as well. Again, most likely it's going to be 2 mana for 2 life and 2 cards drawn. That can be huge to get things going. But now let's move on to tactic number 6, big brain moves, because, yeah, we've got some massive spells that can be game-changing for us. First up, Occult Epiphany, instant for X and a blue. So this is basically just going to be a single blue mana for an absurd card. Draw X cards and discard X cards, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying for each card type among cards discarded this way. So this one, we don't get to keep all those cards. You know what? That's okay, because this can actually just set ourselves up to grab pretty much the right 7 or so cards, how many cards we had in our hand essentially, and just keep the right cards that we need to keep winning essentially. So basically, again, we tap will, we reduce the cost by 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, whatever it is, and all of a sudden for a single blue mana, dig through your deck, get the exact cards that you need to win and set yourself up for victory. And that card might be Fascination. Choose one, each player draws X cards, or each player puts the top X cards of the library in their graveyard. This can just be a giant massive draw spell for us, well, and all other players as well, which can be game ending for them. Because, yeah, we just draw a ton of cards, and all of a sudden, yeah, we just do all these other things, we win. Or, yeah, if we have a way to maybe shuffle our library, which we've talked about here in a bit, we've got a way to essentially say, well, you all draw out, and I live. Or just actually just mill your opponents, and then, yeah, sure, you milled yourself as well, but they're going to go their upkeep, they're going to try draw, and they're going to lose. Or you've got ways to force opponents to draw as well and win. Next up, Mind Spring, draw X cards, sorcery, speed, that's okay. Again, just basically for blue, we're going to draw, again, 20, 30, 40 plus cards, whatever it's going to be. Keep going, dig down, find those untap effects for our commander or mana dorks, do things again and again and again, dig into even further, you know, draw effects like, you know, pull from tomorrow. Instant speed for X blue, draw X cards, discard a card. We can sacrifice that one card. That's okay. Again, when we're drawing 30, 40 cards, pretty absurd. Next up, Silver Scrutiny. X blue, you can cast it as though it flash if it's X 3 or less. We're probably not going to cast it at flash speed. We probably are just going to treat this like a Mind Spring, draw X cards. Absolutely crazy. Sky Scribing, X blue, each player draws X cards. So again, yet another card that could potentially be a finisher for us. Or also you can forecast it, and each player is going to draw a single card if you actually need to do that as well. Commander's Insight. X blue, target player draws X cards plus an additional card for each time you cast a commander for the command zone this game. This one does target, so you can say, hey you, yes you opponent, I'm being generous, right? I'm going to give you 100 cards. You're welcome. Oh, you drew out and lost? I'm so sorry. So this can be a finisher as well, or just a way to draw an absurd amount of cards. Speaking of which, even the score, this can be basically a free spell for us. Costs blue to less to cast if opponent has drawn 4 more cards this turn. Again, we've got ways to force opponents to actually draw cards, so we can ensure that is met. Draw X cards. This can, again, just be a giant draw X spell that essentially our commander just reduces down to whatever. It's just a free spell. It's just, hey, draw 40 cards for free. What's not to love about that? Next up, Ingenious Mastery. We can pay 2 in a blue rather than pay its cost. If we want to pay that, we draw 3, and opponent creates 2 treasure tokens and scry 2. It's not pay draw X cards. Most of the time, we're probably just going to draw X cards because we can for a good amount. We got Stroke of Genius, basically the exact same thing if we're doing that. Instant speed, though, target player draws X cards, so yet another way to take an opponent out with this or destroy a ton of cards. Universal Surveillance, again, X blue. Improvise, so our artifacts can actually help tap for this as well. Draw X cards, and this can be an absolutely huge effect. Then we've got Transcendent Message, Convoke, so our creatures can help with this. I mean, most of our creatures are Mandorks anyways. Regardless, draw X cards. Yeah, again, having more and more of these X draw spells can help us just chain from one into the next, into all those untap effects to just, you know, draw more and more and more until we get basically our entire library in our hand and then have ways to win from there. Now, as good as all these cards are, there's one, in my opinion, that stands above the rest and is the golden pig of this deck, and that is Sphinx's Revelation. Yeah, a crazy good card for this deck and for this commander. Instant for X, white, blue. You gain X life, draw X cards. This does both of the things that we want. We want to be able to cast giant spells where we gain a bunch of life. We also want to draw a ton of cards so we can just keep things going. This says, hey, you get both. You get the best of both worlds. Hey, you know what? You put 20 into that X, gain 20 life, draw 20 cards. All of a sudden, draw into something that can untap your commander and all your mana dorks. Do it again, and now you've just have an extra 20 to that generic mana reduction. Absolutely crazy, absolutely absurd. A good card early and later in the game. A great finisher as well for us. A crazy good card that can really just solidify that, yeah, you want to lose your friends. So there you go. A great card, and definitely, in my opinion, the golden pig of this deck. But next up, let's move on to tactic number 8. Let's not lose, because we don't want to lose. Sorcery for 2 and a blue. We've got Clear the Mind. Target player shuffles their graveyard into the library, draw a card. Now, it does say target, but we're going to be targeting ourselves because we don't want to lose. We want to say, hey, you know all those cards I drew and discarded, and yeah, well, I want to draw more. So I'm just going to actually shuffle all that back into my library, and then I can utilize those fascination type effects to say, hey, everyone, look, draw 80 cards. And all of a sudden, I'm still around. My opponents are not. So we're also going to be running Learn from the Past, an instant for 3 and a blue. Again, each of these are probably basically just going to cost a single blue mana anyways. Target player shuffles their graveyard library, draw a card. So instant speed essentially effect. Again, a great way to save yourself from losing the game if you are about to mill. But now let's move on to our final tactic, tactic number 9, bring it back, because, yeah, there's some crazy good cards in this deck. We've got those untap effects that untap all of our things. We've got those massive draw spells that just draw us deeper into our deck. We've got those massive life gain spells that help us reduce that cost that our commander is going to help us even further. So yeah, let's get some of those instants and sorceries back with something like Flood of Recollection. Sorcery for blue, turn target in sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, exile this. So yeah, a great effect, a massive effect, one that can get us the exact card that we need, situation we're in out of our graveyard. Next up, Call to Mind, the one that can cost actually even less, again, because that costs reduction, a single blue mana most of the time. Return instant sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. That can be absolutely huge. We also have Said and Done, which is basically the exact same thing, at least for the Said. Return target instant sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand for a sorcery for 2 and a blue, or Done, instant speed, tap 2 dark creatures, then on tap. If we're desperate, we can utilize that. More likely, though, we will use the Said part to get what we need back. And then finally, we got Bond of Insight. Sorcery for 3 and a blue. Each player puts the top 4 cards of the library in the graveyard, mill 4. Return up to 2 instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand, exile this. So basically, get 2 things back out of your graveyard, which again can just be game ending for you. Hey, go get that untap effect that you need to untap your army, including your commander. So you've got your Mandorks again, and also, you know, get back that X draw spell so you can draw those cards or your opponent can draw them, because again, you are so generous in taking them out. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this deck, because your opponents certainly will not. Again, this is a great way to lose your friends for just around $10. A way to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to take a 20-minute turn where I gain some life, untap things, draw some cards, do it again, gain some life, untap things, draw some cards, do it again. Yeah, your opponents absolutely love watching you do this. In the end, just being taken out by a giant draw spell, yeah, they might be a little salty by that. So yeah, a crazy, crazy good commander, and one that, again, even for just $10, you can build an absurdly cool and crazy annoying deck. So there you go. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. If you are interested in losing your friends for just $10, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.